everybody, I'm Tom Vassallo, and I believe that feet are getting bigger. I only say this because the size of stockings seems to have increased over the years. From when I was a kid, I don't remember stockings being as gigantic as they are now. My kids have stockings that can hold a house in them. Stockings, those for people, the stocking the night before you pull out things. Today we're talking about stocking stuffers, games that can fit into a stocking, probably, or just small games in general. But small games often get beat out by the big games because you just don't notice them, and so this is a list that's going to point out these smaller games so that you can find them. We're also pointing out Above Board TV. Who are they? Have you heard of them? Well, you should have. They're a comedy board game channel. So they do skits, they'll do top 10 lists. They have all kinds of interesting content already on the channel, from jumping out of an airplane playing games to interviews with different people. Some really funny stuff, and you can go check that out on their channel. One video that's linked in the description below is about them doing some extreme gaming underwater with sharks swimming around. Go watch that video. Make a comment on that video, because one person who comments there is going to be notified in the comments that you have won a trip to LA for you and someone else for 3 days and 2 nights. But that's not the only prize. We're going to have winners that get the different games, many of the games that are on the list that we're doing right now. So go comment, enter, and check out that video. And if you like it, subscribe to it. But check out their video and enjoy it. All right, so what are we talking about? Stocking stuffers, small little games. I like talking about small games, so let's get started. Here's 12 great ones.
Well, let's start off this list with some high fashion in Couture. Couture is a sort of a simultaneous bid auction game. Every player has a handful of cards and these little divider cards. There's 3 areas in the middle of the table with a few cards that players can grab, and so you're trying to determine with your little hand of cards which ones you want to put in front of the first divider. That's how much you're kind of trying to prioritize or win the auction of that first area. In between the 2 dividers is for the second area, and behind the last divider is for the third area. But you only have so much value in the cards, so do you go heavy into one or maybe try to get second place in all of them? Players will reveal and start grabbing cards. Those cards are worth points, but some of those cards are also better cards with which to auction in your hand. So do you take a few negative points now to have a really strong card to hopefully win more points in the future? This game does a lot in a very short time frame, and obviously a small box. Really recommend Couture from All Play.
Next up, we have For Northwood, which is in a tiny box, but it's a beautiful production with very, very nice plastic cards that will hold up to shuffling. And that's important because this is a trick-taking game. And on top of that, it is a solo trick-taking game, solitaire only. And the idea behind it is that you are trying to have conversations with different cards in a line. There are going to be different characters, a jack, a king, that type of a thing. But you're going to have to play tricks with each of these characters, and sometimes you'll want to win the tricks, sometimes you don't want to win the tricks. But it's amazing how well a solitaire trick-taking experience actually plays. It's in a small box, like I said, would fit great in a stocking. If you know someone that likes word games, that likes to play solitaire type games, For Northwood is a really, really solid pick.
Gap is next up on our list. Now this is a super short, clean, cool card game that I enjoy. It's very fast and it gives those very classic card game feels. And what you're doing is you're playing a card out so that you can collect cards from the lineup, and that's based on the number that you play. And you're trying to collect sets of cards, so you're putting them in order, your orange cards together, your red cards together, your blue cards together. And at the end of the game, you're going to take your lowest stack and subtract it from your highest stack, and that's your end game score. But there's some really clever things going on. So it's a quick, simple game, but I think you can be clever in it, so I enjoy it.
Next stop, Next Station Tokyo. This is a great flip and write game. This is a follow-up or a sequel to last year's Next Station London, both of which are great little games. They come in a nice magnetic clasp box. They fit in a stocking quite well, and yet there's a fun amount of game in such a small box. Every player has a sheet of paper, and they start drawing out subway lines in 4 different colors. My favorite catch of this game, though, is that every player is working on a different subway line at the same time. If I'm working on purple, you're working on blue, so our map starts the same and will quickly become different from each other. Flip over a card, connect your color subway station to another station, and continue building around. There's so many fun different objectives to try to complete. Next Station Tokyo ramps up some of the cool stuff that you're trying to do quite a bit from Next Station London, but either one of these is going to make a great stocking stuffer, easy game to learn, quick playtime, simultaneous, and fun. That's why I'm recommending Next Station Tokyo.
Our next game is Potato Man. Now, this is a trick-taking card game set in a world of sentient potatoes, all of which are shaped somewhat like me. This is a fun, fast-paced little game, and it's got an unusual mechanic for a trick-taking game in that you don't follow suit. Instead, you have to make sure that every person who lays the cards down is a different suit. And if someone can't play, the round is over. It plays quickly, the cards are colorful, the characters are odd and wacky, and it's a lot of fun. Potato Man.
Next up on our stocking stuffer list is the game Sail. Now this is a 2-player, cooperative, trick-taking, limited information game. So if all of those things check off boxes on your list, this could be a good choice for you. What you're trying to do in this game is you are both controlling a ship and you're trying to move it to the end of this chunk of ocean. But you're trying to avoid the Kraken, you're trying to avoid rocks, there's things in your way. And if someone wins too many tricks, the game can end early. So you're trying to get it all done in time, in the right direction, in the right way, by playing tricks. But the key is you don't know what's in each other's hand. There's just a little bit of information that you give. You swap cards at the beginning of each round. You swap 1 card each. And that can tell you a ton of information based on what the person gives you. It lets you know a little bit of what they have, what they're looking for. There's just so much information that comes from that single card, and yet the rest is silent. So I very much enjoyed this game. It's great. So if you have a 2-player game that you're looking for as a stocking stuffer, this is an awesome choice.
Up next, we've got Sea, Salt, and Paper, which is a small box card game that in some ways feels like games you might have played before. It has set collection, meaning that you're trying to collect certain cards in the same variety and they'll score more at the end of the game. There's a little bit of kind of interaction with other players where you may be stealing a card that they have from random off of their out of their hand, and all of that sounds like, okay, I've seen this before. But what really sets Sea, Salt, and Paper apart, other than its beautiful look where you've got origami styled paper on each of the cards, is that the way that you can end a round is not predetermined. One of the players has to call the end of the round, and they have 2 ways of doing it. One that's a bit more of a risky venture where everyone else will still be able to take 1 more turn, and if they're able to win that way, they get more points. Or if they just call the end of the round, see who has the most points, and get a standard number of points that way. It's a very subtle change to a standard game, but it really means a very different experience. Sea, Salt, and Paper is a terrific small box card game.
Okay, so we're doing stocking stuffers now, and the next stocking stuffer for me is Frosthaven. Just kidding. That would be a huge stocking, right? It's like, whoa, covers the fireplace. It's in the fire. Awkward. No, this is Silver and Gold. Silver and Gold is, it's a flip it right style game, and it's one of those, it's more mass market. I think you can kind of get it at Target, things like that, but you can get it on Amazon for sure. But the great thing about this is it's quick, and it's a polyomino style game that you're trying to fill up your board, and you're going to get points through various ways. And there's also a new one called Silver and Gold Pyramid that is the same kind of thing, except instead of filling up your board, you are making your track through and trying to get to the tomb at the end. But the whole thing about this is, I like the whole fact that it's not one paper that you're trying to fill out your polyominoes on. You're grabbing cards, so each time you pull it off, you've got a new kind of area to work with. You grab those polyominoes, you're trying to fill it in, and you're trying to get extra points along the way. And it's a race, and there's that randomness because you play over a series of rounds, and there's always one shape that never comes up. So this, for me, is one of the ones that it's a stocking stuffer, but it's one that we travel with a lot. It's small. It'll go in your bag. You can play it on the airport, at the airport, or on the airplane, or wherever. And it's really good. I would put this as one of my top, not only stocking stuffers, but travel games. So this is silver and gold. Not gold and silver and gold.
Okay, now we're talking about Similo. And here's what's interesting about Similo. There's so many different versions of it. Similo has a little box that has a bunch of people in it. There's a historical one. There is a Harry Potter one. There is like weird mythical creatures. There's all sorts of them. You can get one of these and you can play with just one, or you can even mix them if you want to. But what's going to happen is you're going to get a figure. Maybe it's Medusa, maybe it's Abraham Lincoln. You're going to secretly know that person. You're going to mix it with 11 more characters and then put them out, flip them up. You will then turn over another character. So maybe I turn over Joan of Arc. And then I have to say whether they are like my character, Abraham Lincoln, or not like my character. So I pick, I'm saying, oh, they're similar or they're not similar. I'm going to tell everybody that by moving the card. Everyone then has to remove a card. They're going to take that 12 cards down to 11. They're like, wow, definitely. You said they're not similar, but this one is similar, so we'll take this one out. As long as they haven't taken out my secret character, we're fine. But if they do take it out, we lose. So we're going to keep going till we're down to that last character, and hopefully we've won the game. It's really fun. It's an easy game to play. It doesn't require a lot of, creativity. You're just sitting there, but it does provoke good discussion. And if you ever wondered what it's like to hear people compare Medusa to a mummy, to Frankenstein, or just Joan of Arc to Abraham Lincoln, to Gandhi, this is the kind of game to do that. Or Gandhi to Medusa to Harry Potter. So you can get any one of these. Like I said, they work by themselves, and that's Similo.
Splito is our next recommendation for your stocking stuffer game here. This is a simple set or deck of cards. In the game, you're going to be drafting a card each round until it goes round and round. Once you've drafted all the cards and played them out, you go into scoring. Kind of the hook here and the namesake of the game, Splito, is you are split between two different tableaus that you're building up. As you're drafting these cards, they are either scoring opportunities or they are a number and color which feed into that scoring opportunity. You're building one of these on your right with the person on your right, and you're building one on your left with the person on your left. At the end of the game, you score both of those piles, and whoever has the highest combined score wins. So it kind of has this little bit of semi-co-op feel where you're both putting into one tableau, but ultimately you want a good balance on each one to make sure you're not feeding into one person's scoring opportunity more than the other. You're trying to kind of maintain this precarious balance between the table and the players. So Splito, it's a small game that fits in a stocking, but I think packs quite a bit of punch. Check it out.
Next up, let's talk about Trio, an interesting, quirky little game in which you are making sets of cards and discarding those in front of you, and once you manage to get to a specific amount of these, you are going to win the game. The game has a memory element, however, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a memory game. You are going to be asking other players around the table for either their highest or their lowest card. And so you start learning what other players are holding. Once you are able to bring all three cards of a number together, say I get all three 11s together, I can discard that in front of me, and I could even continue going. As soon as I make a mistake, though, I get an 11 from this player, and then over here I get a 9, well, I'm not using that and I'm done. It's the next player's turn. And so slowly you start discovering what's in everyone's hands, and a few that are face down on the table, and things start to come together. The kind of game that upon explanation you go, this sounds an awful lot like memory. Good old, kind of boring memory. And you start playing and the game becomes much more about the players, what everyone's thinking, what everyone's going for, the things they've shared with everyone, and makes the game a little more interesting than playing down here, where it starts to happen up here with everyone and what they're thinking and how they're approaching it. So a bit of a hidden gem, a bit of a tricky one to get across, but one that I personally was very interested by and thought wouldn't be interesting, didn't sound good, and yet found it to be a lovely, enjoyable experience. Picked up my own, and I think you just might want to pick one up and stick it in somebody's stocking for the holidays. That is Trio.
The final game we're going to recommend here for small little packages that can fit in a stocking is going to be Trailblazers. Specifically, though, the Travel Edition. Trailblazers is a bigger, full-size game in its original production, but they also made a small travel version. What I really love about this, though, is that travel version still has the same components. It's just a smaller package. It's also clear that it was made by an outdoor enthusiast for an outdoor enthusiast. You have the cards, which are going to be waterproof. You have a little carabiner on the actual packaging of this, so if you're going hiking, you can just clip it onto your backpack. It really is a great travel package. Also, it's about the outdoors. As you're going to be building 3 different loops here: a biking, a hiking, and a kayaking loop, trying to maximize those positions and the scopes of them and kind of the animals you're going out to see to have the best score at the end of the game. It's got drafting in it, which is a really comfortable mechanism. Basically, it's a lot of punch in a little bitty package that can go anywhere with them. So do you have someone who's on the move a lot? Do you have a great outdoor enthusiast, but they maybe don't want to sacrifice a lot of that backpack space and weight? Check out Trailblazers for them.
Thanks for watching another video in our series of the 12 Games of Christmas. A couple things before we go out. First of all, we've mentioned lots of different things that you can get here, and there's board games and all sorts of stuff, and we checked to make sure that these were available online. So we checked at the different online game stores like Game Nerds, we checked the publisher sites themselves, and we checked Amazon. And in fact, if they're available on Amazon, we have those links in the description. You just go right there and buy them. And if you do that, anything, when you buy there, or if you buy other stuff too, that helps us here at the Dice Tower. So keep that in mind. Also, don't forget our sponsor, Aboveboard TV. Go check out their channel. Go enter the contest by commenting on that video we mentioned. And as a side note, this contest is available only to those in the U.S. now for different reasons. But even if you're from all over the world, you can at least go check out their content and laugh as they play board games in fun and weird ways. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for watching these. I hope these lists are a help to you. Check out the other 9 videos. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and this is the 12 Games of Christmas of 2023 on the Dice Tower.